In my previous framing videos, I've showed you the process that I use for making frames for pendants with a large single stone in the center. In this video, I'll go through the process that I use for using smaller or multiple centerpieces. The materials for this should be pretty familiar if you've watched my other two framing videos. First, I have a length of 18 gauge half round. I've cut about 5 inches for this project. I don't know that we'll necessarily need all 5 inches, but it will at least give us some room to work. Second, I've cut about 8 inches of 16 gauge square. One of the questions that I get asked most frequently about the process I use for creating frames is whether you can substitute round wire for this square wire instead. And I would encourage you to at least give square a try. One of the major bonuses that using square over round wire offers is that it enables you to lock your elements firmly to the frame without creating all of the extra bulk that you would need in order to keep it stationary around a round piece of wire. As for the stones for today's project, I've picked 3 freeform garnets and a collection of small garnet accents. Now, I won't use all of these little garnets, but I at least wanted to have a nice variety to choose from. When I'm building the frame, I'll focus only on the largest stones. Adding accents like these is really easy as you get deeper into the piece, but it makes it more sense to me to plan for the larger stones first and then add the accents as I'm going. Let's get started with the wire. I'm going to take my pliers about 1/3 of the way from one end and just bend straight down on both sides. This is the approximate layout that I want these garnets to sit in the finished piece. Of course, I'll have some additional accents added in, but this is at least what I want to build the frame around. To start giving those a home, I'm going to take the longer of my 2 ends of the square wire and make a nice little seat for that stone to sit on. I can adjust, making it bigger if I need the stone to sit deeper into the piece, or I can make it smaller if the stone is a little bit too big for that setting. Next, I'm going to make the second stone setting, taking my longer wire again, and smoothly curving it into the approximate position for where we want that second stone to sit. I've got one to sit above, the smaller one offset. Now I just need to add the third. For the last setting, I'm going to take my longer square wire and do the same, where I just take a big loop to create a setting for it to sit in. To connect the endings of the frame together, I'm going to start with our longer one and connect it to this left side square using a piece of our 18 gauge half round, coiling it around once or twice. I don't want to create too much bulk, but I do want to make sure that these endings are secured together. Flattening it with my pliers and making sure that the wire ending is tucked towards the inside of the piece. From there, I can actually trim off some of the excess from this, twisting it in just a little bit so that it won't slip, and then I can trim it using my cutters. From here, I can either choose to secure and trim off the excess from our other wire, or I can use that excess, if I tuck it in just a tad towards the center of the frame, as a setting for possibly a fourth stone. So there we have our 3 original garnets, and if I choose, I have a nice setting here to throw a 4th in. And there we have our frame ready to add elements to. Now I do understand that a lot of people seem to be hesitant to use larger square, as it is a little bit tricky to manipulate and move around. But it does take a little bit of practice, and with that you get a nice secure frame that you can easily add elements to. This square edge makes it incredibly simple to lock your coils, your settings, or other elements of the piece to. Just for example's sake, I've got a piece of thicker gauge round and this piece of 21 gauge square. Now let's say that this was my frame. If I was to go to try to add this to my frame, it would take an incredible amount of bulk to get it to the point where it didn't easily bend or slide along the frame. If I were to take that same square element and connect it to a frame built from square, I have these hard angles and edges that make it easy to bend the wire to the shape of the frame using my pliers and secure it in a way that it doesn't wiggle and is less likely to slide. I hope this video gives you some insight in how to design frames for your own pieces using multiple center stones. If you liked this video or found it helpful, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to my channel for more content similar in the future. If you're interested in helping support the channel, check out the link to my Patreon in the description of the video below. I always look forward to your feedback on these videos. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you think.